Hello, beautiful souls. Welcome back to my channel. Today's video is going to be a little different from my previous ones, and I'd like to just share with you why I started a YouTube channel at 63. This is the point where most people are thinking about retiring, whereas I decided to change direction and go into a YouTube channel. I'd like to share that process, that journey, what I've discovered, and moving forward, what I'm really looking forward to. So at first, I think I'll just share a little bit about myself and my journey getting to this point. So I'm Ferdinand, and I was born in Africa, right on the equator. I was actually born in Zimbabwe and then lived in Kenya and Zambia, and then just came to Canada in my teens. I guess what I progressed into becoming a commercial photographer. That was my career, was shooting mostly commercial, corporate, advertising, editorial. I had a studio downtown Toronto. And I ended up getting on this spiritual path, I guess I was 30, just over 30, 31. And casual trip to the dentist. I went to a dentist, and I have no issues with needles, no issues up until that point with dentists. And the dentist gave me the freezing, and that was all I remember. It was freezing, and then just boom. And the next thing I remember is the hygienist basically sitting on me, sweating, white as a ghost, and a very angry dentist. And I guess from the injection, I had no pulse, and I'm not sure the time frame, how long that took, but he'd already cleared out his office. All the other patients had been sent home. The ambulance was en route, and I was just out and then instantly back. It was like just void back. So I have no idea what transpired during that time period, but I do know that it made a massive shift in my life. All of a sudden, spirituality became a lot more important, and it changed how I interacted with the world. I mean, up until that point, I was pretty angry warrior, so to speak. My interactions with people were not the nicest. I always felt as a kid growing up, I would never make it to my 40s just because I knew I wasn't the nicest person on the planet. But from that point forward, everything shifted. And all my relationships, everything moved me more and more towards the spiritual path that I'm really enjoying today. And then from there, moving forward, I met Jennifer, my wife, and we moved up north to be off-grid. So we bought waterfront property, we went from downtown Toronto to waterfront. And our whole objective was to really be off-grid and explore just having a different lifestyle, really getting in touch with nature, being in harmony with all the elements. And that went extremely well. I mean, we loved it. And we started, through our spiritual process, we started doing master alignment. And master alignment was, it's a healing modality where, as a practitioner, you take people back to their biggest soul wounding. So this is usually past life, it can be future, but you're going back to their, whatever item they're constantly reliving, trying to clear from their bodies. And this would be a causation moment that went on for lifetimes. And through that, I learned just an unprecedented amount of information just about humanity and people and how just the things that happen and spirituality. I'll go into more on that in another video because that's a whole story in itself. Anyway, from that, fractals came out. We were doing an advanced master alignment session with our teachers down in the US. And out of nowhere, the guy just said fractals. And I instantly knew what that meant and how that, I really didn't know how that would unfold, but I knew exactly that was something that was very important to me. And this is, in the late 90s when fractals you didn't hear it very often. It was, some people knew about it, but it wasn't like now I find you hear the word fractals thrown out all the time. Whereas back then it was really uncommon. And they evolved. As computers evolved, so did the fractals I was working on. I do them as a very intuitive process, and it's very guided. I work with my guides, and if I'm doing it for a person, I work with their guides and the higher frequency spirit. So as the spirit fractals evolved, so did just my interest in different aspects of spirituality. And to enhance that, I took a workshop it was actually a workshop on bilocating. And in that workshop, it came out that I had just a natural ability to channel, which is something that I explored. And channeling spirit directly is quite revealing. I mean, it's extremely humbling. There's no judgment. It's just pure love. You're connecting to the energy of pure love. And Spirit's very aware of it's just that energy of creation, of 100% acceptance, love. And no matter what you do, it's always seen from the eyes of love, whether it's good or bad. There's never a judgment. There is no good, bad. It's just pure expression of love. And it's so that really helped direct and influence me in many different ways. I mean, it's just in the beginning when I was channeling, I'd be on this high because you're experiencing it's running through your body and you're experiencing that, and then 2 days later you're down from that bubble, and I'd get this just anger that I wasn't aware of. It was just frustration, and I wanted to live in that feeling of bliss, that high energy charge of just this pure love, and it's hard to put to words because it's an energy that just defies what we have a language for. And with channeling, it's hard to describe because I basically turn myself into, I mean, it's the most basic form, a telephone. I'm not communicating with lost loved ones or family members. I'm communicating solely with spirit. So there are guides that will come in, and they're spirit. So it's just pure. It's really hard to describe, but it's the most amazing feeling that energy of just this pure love, creation, no judgment, complete, total admiration, support, respect. It's so hard to put into words, and the feeling is so amazing. It's in the beginning I'd have a really hard time with it because after the session's complete, I forget all the information that comes through. It's because it's not about me, and I'm just at the time I can see the imagery, I can feel the energy because it just totally overruns it completely overruns you. But after that, it's as soon as the session's complete, and it just dissipates rapidly, and then I don't remember much of it unless it was really, really powerful. And then I'll remember just the actual feeling of it rather than the story, because it's not my story. And then I had a hard time coping with that afterwards because all the feeling leaves, and then you're back here and everything's slow and difficult, and it's duality, and I'd get really frustrated and angry to in a sense it was just hard for me to cope with. And then over time, now I'm actually getting back to that point through meditation and just sound work and breath work, and I find I can get to that state rapidly, and it's lasting because I'm getting to it without it coming through me. If that makes any sense. I'm getting through it. I'm getting to it naturally. I don't use any of the mind altering drugs. My objective is to really get there through meditation and just ideally instantaneously as needed. That's really where I want to get to. And I'll share some of that journey as I go in different videos, because these are all topics that really warrant a video on their own. So back to the fractals. They never stopped evolving. Sometimes they took a back seat because really when our kids came along, we were committed to that being our whole focus, especially for the first 10 years, 15 years in each of their lives. It was really about making sure they became, the most powerful beings they could become, and at the same time juggling our careers and our relationship too. You have to maintain, for a successful relationship, it constantly needs work. It's just the reality of all things, that if you don't put work to it, you're either growing or dying. It's one or the other. You can't stay neutral. We're never in one spot. We're always in motion. So it's either expanding or contracting. So all those things were going on at the same time. And the one thing that was consistent, although at times in the background, was the evolution of the fractals. And they're very different today. Like the fractals I do now compared to 20 years ago when I started are very different. And it's a fun process being a part of that, being involved in that, because I'm very aware of it being a co-creation. When I create the fractals, it is with spirit. It is channeled. It is intuitive, and it's and I do bring my experience, my all of the experiences I've gathered in this life. I do bring to the table, so to speak. It's still my hand moving the mouse. It's still and I've learned to not. When I get a prompt, this needs red. I've learned to trust that, because the thoughts you get, when you come from a place of non-ego and in service, that is spirit moving through you. So anyway, back to the starting a YouTube channel. So this all led to starting a YouTube channel, and I wanted to share some of the experiences, and in a sense too, leave a bit of something for the kids to look back at. So they have a recorded. I mean, how beautiful is that? Where you can actually leave memories for your family. Stuff that transcends anything that we do, right? So that's a part of it, and just being able to share. I mean, it's so amazing that we have this medium to be able to share with each other. I've spent many hours watching YouTube videos on people sharing their story, and it's wonderful. It's wonderful being able to see other people's experiences and learn from that. So what were my steps in starting? I chose the Wheel of Wisdom because that was a 12-part. The Wheel of Wisdom has 12 attributes. And I thought, that's brilliant. I have 12 videos I can work towards. And originally my process was very scripted. I had, complete script written out, planned. I used a prompter, and the prompter was voice activated, so I would just read and it would scroll, and I would see everything I needed. It worked really well. But it became a bit of a crutch. So I started to rely on that prompter, and it became my security blanket in a sense, because, you wouldn't run out of thoughts. I wouldn't draw a blank because it was all there for me. I didn't have to think. I could just basically sit here and just read it. And it actually worked. Like, if it's a great way to start, because it helps you just get into that. And there are times I might use it for something really complicated. I don't know. I kind of am really enjoying just speaking from the heart and just allowing it to flow, almost in the sense of, intuitively. I'd like to do videos where a lot of the channeling comes through, and obviously you can't use a prompter for that. So anyway, back to the Wheel of Wisdom, and the whole thought behind the YouTube channel was using the Wheel of Wisdom with 12 attributes. The first one is courage. And what does it take to start anything new? Well, it takes courage. It takes that leap of faith. You have to take that first step or nothing happens. I mean, there are days where it takes courage to get out of bed, just to go to work, right? But that courage is the first step needed. And the courage, when you apply patience to that, and by patience, it's not in just sitting around waiting. It's just knowing that it's going to happen, knowing that everything will start falling into place, and having that patience in, it's all gonna work in divine order, and just allowing it to come out. So when you have the wisdom and the courage and the patience, it leads to wisdom. And wisdom is it's the knowledge you gain from the process. It's constantly evolving. It's not a linear or even a circular path. It'll go back and forth. It's like, because you'll get to a new point, and again, it requires courage to move forward. And then from the wisdom, as you keep applying and just keep moving forward, you develop a certainty in that, that, hey, I can do this. It just becomes more and more comfortable, and there's just an ease that just happens with that. And so from certainty, we go to compassion. And compassion is more than just being compassionate for others around you. I mean, that is an important thing, but it's being compassionate for yourself, giving yourself that space to be, and allowing yourself to be comfortable with yourself, and not criticizing yourself. I mean, and I still do that. I'm notorious for self-chatter. I have that little, just constantly, criticizing yourself and expecting perfection. And the compassion is just allowing yourself to make mistakes, and honoring the whole journey. It's about loving yourself in that whole process. Which going through those leads you to joy. And joy is those, it can be total bliss, and those just accomplishing those little goals, and that will just give you the fuel and the fire to just keep going. So, and from joy comes clarity, which is just that having that clear vision, even when you can't see the path. I think one of the videos I talked about rowing in the fog. I mean, when I was in Toronto, I used to love going out my single, and I'd launch before the sun was up. And my favorite thing was to go around if anybody knows Toronto, around the island and out into the open lake. And I would be, in a small boat that's a foot wide, 28 feet long, and has the integrity of an egg. Like the boat was eggshell thin, and I'd be out where I couldn't see water in any direction. And you to a degree, you feel very vulnerable. And I remember the one time just getting caught in the fog out there. The fog rolled in out of nowhere, and I had no idea which direction was right or wrong. Pick the wrong one, you're in the U.S. Pick the right one, you're back where you started. So, but it worked out. It's just having that sense of just knowing that, trusting the process, and being open to intuition and guidance, which automatically leads into understanding, So, and the understanding is just that starting to really get the process, and it just becomes easier and more comfortable, which leads to depth, and depth allows you to just keep expanding and just keep diving deeper into it. And then from depth is abundance, and that's when you start to see the fruits of your labor. You're working on something. You're going through all these layers and layers, and now you start to see everything fall into place and unfold. Which leads to generosity. So it's from the abundance you can now give back, and you can give to others and help others and share what you're learning and share some of your abundance. And then that leads to agape, which is the final aha moment. It's that stepping into the pure exhilaration, love. What's the word I'm thinking of? It's the unconditional love. It's that total oneness with things. And then you go again. It's a continual loop. Like we're not just you start off and you think you're back where you started, but you're not, because you have all that experience and you've grown to a different level. So you keep going around this loop, but you're constantly moving into different levels and just higher levels of understanding, which could be consciousness. It could be, it's multiple things. And that was basically the groundwork I used for the first 12 videos, and it was great. I loved it. So to get back to why YouTube channel, well, it also, from my perspective, it gives me a wonderful archive and library. Like one of the things I'm working on, which I've just finished, is an oracle deck. So using the Spiritfractals. So I've completed 64 cards, and now I'm working on writing the book to go with it. And I can then use YouTube videos on each of those cards as just to add to the insight. So if somebody uses the oracle deck, not only can they use the book as reference, you can also then go to the video and get more perspective on it. So that's just one of the areas, and just being able to share my story and connect. It's such a great community. I just love that we have this internet to connect and share with each other. So moving forward, the other thing I'd like to share is the meditation tools I use. And I'll be sharing some of my meditations as guided meditations. I'm working on various binaural beats to go with the meditations to really amplify different effects. And also some of the so not so known teachings, that I've uncovered, and just things that I use on a day-to-day, and especially overcoming certain obstacles, how I tackle those, and the process and techniques I use. So those are the kinds of things I will be sharing with you. If there's a topic or something that's a current event in the world that you'd like to see a spirit fractal on, and I'd share some of my intuition in the process, including any channelings on that, and it'd just be a fun exchange. It's just my way of giving back to the community. So it's to get back to the YouTube channel. So is it worth starting a YouTube channel at 63? 100% yes. Every day of the week, yes, it is. Is it a lot of work? Yeah, it is a lot of work. There's a lot of planning into every video. There's a lot of, there's the unknowns, right? And I have 40 years experience as a commercial photographer. So I've spent my whole career on that side of the camera. And, I actually really enjoy being on this side. It's new to me and I enjoy it. Yeah, I have the advantage where I have a lot of equipment. I have all the lighting. I have all the camera equipment. But you don't need, a phone works every bit as good. The equipment is never the hindrance. There's always a workaround. So if something you've been thinking about, I highly encourage you to try it. It's, no harm, no foul, right? It's like you have nothing to lose and everything to gain. It's an incredible experience, and the community is awesome. So I look forward to hearing from you. I'd love to hear from you. If there's anything you'd like as far as topics to see a fractal on or a video on, just let me know in the comments, and I'll talk to you soon. Thank you.
We are fire, we are gold, burning bright from days of old. Stars that whisper, skies ignite.